Woo! That was crazy, huh? All right, so we tweeted this out 24 hours ago. Yep. Hopefully people show up. What do you think?
I think a few people are gonna come up.
Let's see. Yo, what's up, guys? I'm John Henry.
I'm Brandon Bryant.
And this is the Chop It Up Show.
Live, South by Southwest
edition. So on this show, we break down business and culture through an entrepreneurial lens. And we thought, what better way to do this than at South by Southwest 2019,
Yes.
break it down,
In
what
the
we've
streets.
seen. In the streets.
in the streets.
Okay, so first things first, let's set the tone real quick and let's talk about what we've seen, what's popping off. What's the this is my third South by.
Third South by.
Okay, so what's the biggest takeaway that you've seen thus far right now?
All these damn scooters.
Yes.
So we just rode the Bird scooters for the first time today. It was super seamless and easy to actually take a picture of the QR code and just jump on and ride. 15 minutes, 1.5 miles, $3.
Wow.
Crazy.
Mind blowing. You could actually see how this could catch on in any major city. I mean, it was seamless, it was grab and go.
And it was fun. We went like 20 miles per hour.
Yeah.
We were riding in the streets. I was like, this is feels so illegal.
Yeah, I would venture out to say that the scooter movement that we're seeing right now is likely the future of urban mobility. So, I mean, it's like way cooler than a bike because you could just let it
And
go.
it's just such a low price point, so it's affordable for everybody. They got scale so quickly.
Yep. So another trend that I've seen here at South by, this is probably the lightest attended South by that I've seen in the last 3 years. Also, I think the activations from the tech brands are kind of on the low.
Yep.
And so one interesting thing that's happened is all the offline activations have been a lot more popping. Like Culture House, shout out to them. We'll throw in some footage.
Got some drone footage.
Got some drone footage. It was a super off the grid thing where T.I., the rapper, was on a panel with, some other tech entrepreneurs. It was like
They had like
easily
4 different DJs come in and DJ. They had a secret performance by like an up and coming artist. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was lit. It was lit, not gonna lie. So with that, tone has been set. Let's hear from our mini live audience to hear what is maybe their biggest takeaway that they've had for South by. We'll start it on the left. Okay, what's your biggest thing? What has jumped out at you the most here at South? So as you guys know, this is a show where we break down the intersection between business and culture. It's what I find the most fascinating. What do I mean by the intersection? It could mean where hip hop intersects with business. You got a lot of hip hop artists and making investments. You have a lot of brands that are not technically in the tech space that are here, and I'm paying attention to that. So I just figure we could maybe riff on some things and ask some thought-provoking questions and maybe even just get some dialogue going. So for me, one thing, I'm just kind of going off the top here, I'm still shocked at how few people are vlogging. You might be the only one, my friend, that I've seen vlogging outside of me and Brandon.
Culture House yesterday.
Oh, you're at the Culture House? Shout out Culture House, right? But it's like, yo, this is the forefront, let's say, of innovation in the country this particular weekend. And for me, it's still shocking that we all consume content all fucking day long on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, and still no one is or very few people rather, are over-indexing and investing and putting in the effort. If not an outside person just holding your own like you are, capturing the experience, sharing it, capturing some of that traffic, building your brand. And if you have a subscription store like you do selling that, you have a wellness business?
I work for a vegan option.
So if you're a vegan option, you could be partnering with Lululemon. So that's something that is jumped out at me.
I would even jump in there, Chop It Up. The reason why we even have Chop It Up is because we were creating content, and then eventually 1:37 p.m. VaynerMedia picked it up. I would also even just say Viceland, and how John got his show is just literally putting out content.
Yeah.
And you get to win just by putting it out. As you get better,
Yep.
and the quality gets better, then you're really just executing at a high level. So
Yep.
don't take that lightly.
And to add to that, when I did my first TV production meeting with Vice and they were considering it, so some of you guys may know Alicia Keys and Marky Samuelson are my executive producers. So I told them, I was like, yeah guys, clearly you're in this because of them. And they're like, dude, respectfully, the TV business, we always look for what's new. and we saw this one YouTube video that you did 2 years ago where you talked about this like customers. It was like the most obscure thing, and that was a moment when it hit me that when you share content, you legitimately never know who's consuming. And then on top of that, you actually have a really long tail with the content, because you might have an inflection point somewhere else in your career where you get a spike of like traffic, and you do have people that will go down the rabbit hole and consume everything you've ever put out.
Right.
So like,
everything.
so let that hit you for a moment, like how powerful this really is, and just bringing it all the way back to South by, like, still, I find it remarkable, worthy of, you know, remark that like people are still not vlogging as heavy as I thought they would in 2019. So shout out to this guy.
Yes, appreciate it, man.
Cool. What else we got? Maybe like 2 other topics that we can riff on. Maybe anything from the audience.
I didn't know, you know, what was y'all's thoughts on trying to, because like I said, Instagram right now promote fitness. What are y'all thoughts on?
Brand, what do you think of that? Like new emerging platforms,
yeah,
like getting.
Instagram, you're saying YouTube is like a good for, you know,
It's
content
like search
creation,
video.
personal.
Yeah, I was
personal
gonna say
branding.
like YouTube is amazing because it's like it's a search engine, right? It's like
Yeah.
the #2 search engine owned by the #1 search engine, Google. So if you're doing stuff that people are already looking for, that's amazing. But I would even step back. Like if people remember early YouTube, it was just a bunch of like cat videos and funny stuff, and like YouTube has moved far away from that into like more infotainment.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would think about that the same way in terms of TikTok.
TikTok. Okay, yeah, because like it's so easy. Because I can post a video and I get like 5,000 views in like an hour.
Yeah, so what you're
It's like kind
experiencing,
of like
is like the lift that you get on any new platform if you move early. Because here's what happens: new platforms, they need to reduce the friction of user interaction, right? And so they will not make it, quite frank, if they make it difficult for you as a new user on TikTok to get engagement. Think about it. If you use TikTok and you didn't get any views, you'd be like, this is whack, and you would bounce. So what they do, new platforms, their algorithms are primitive, they're nascent, they make it really easy for you to engage with each other. So you, by jumping in well beyond the mass, because I have a profile but I'm not active, so you're ahead of me on this one, right? So let's explore what happens if TikTok takes off, because here's what may happen. It may not take off. It may be Meerkat. It may be fucking Periscope, where it just gets usurped into another company. But let's explore what happens when it does take off, like with the case of Instagram, because they went from 0 to 50 million users in 500 days. So if you're ahead of the curve, you're experiencing some of that lift of the algorithm. You're getting a lot more traction. You're building community audience. Let's say it takes off and the rest of the masses catches up. Then TikTok is now mature, and you, because you stepped in early, have been rewarded with upside in audience and being a thought leader. All of a sudden, TikTok's going to be doing activations. You're going to be the go-to guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's right. And so I think it's a great idea. I think right now, some of the spaces that I'm in a little bit, maybe before some other folks, like we got into podcasting very early. You can get into video right now, and I still think it's early, considering what we just talked about. People aren't vlogging. So I like the idea of you playing with TikTok. I also like the idea of people playing with a voice first kind of interaction, because I think people are going to continue building skills on top of Alexa, where you can say, hey Alexa, teach me how to cook a chicken. And then Marcus Samuelson, who's one of my EPs, he has the Red Rooster. So he's been thinking a lot about how his brand sounds. So he might walk you through how to make a chicken with some jazz in the back, some funk, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's like another area that you can be in. But to answer your question in its essence, I love the idea of jumping in ahead of people in a number of different things, seeing what takes off, and hey, high risk, high reward.
So
right.
Put all your time.
Because I get zero fucking traction on TikTok.
Right.
So like you're already beating out someone who, as an example, has an established presence on Instagram, on YouTube. I have a cable show, and I'm still not crushing it on TikTok.
Yeah.
So if you have an edge there, I would be playing in it, not at the expense of playing on other platforms. Now that's the hard part. A lot of people are like, fuck, I can only do one or the other.
Yeah.
You kind of got to do all of them, but over-index on where you're crushing it. Cool?
I was trying to figure.
That's a great question.
So a lot of people are saying the same thing over and over and over, right? And we were talking about like the reason why people may not pull it up here to like spend money, because they've been doing the same thing over and over and over. What we've been thinking that's the answer is like actual branded content. Like John's show, he is an entrepreneur. He already talks to folks. He does this, he does that. Why don't we just insert a show? Cadillac's driving it, and now Cadillac has this halo effect from working with John, and then they have amplification from being on Viceland. still someone saying something similar. Like, I mean, it's still just like an entrepreneur helping folks out, but it's branded, it's like kind of unique, and it's great storytelling. There's an amazing arc to it. And season 2 may be coming up pretty soon.
Season 2 may be coming up.
And then eventually, like, you just get that like unfair advantage of like continually winning from telling great stories. So I would say potentially try to get some of these folks to jump on, incentivize them with a carrot and a hook from having all those views in that audience. Say, hey, we would love for you to have Chop It Up.
That's right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
On our platform.
To build off that, I think of 137. So I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with Gary's kind of ecosystem, but he's got VaynerX, which is a holding company. And then underneath VaynerX, he's got a bunch of little businesses that each have their own profit and loss. You know, they're separate businesses that exist under their, umbrella company. One of them is the Gallery Media Group. That's the publishing arm of Vayner. And the flagship brand of Gallery Media Group is Pure Wow, which is a women's focused publishing company. But then they also launched 137 because they believe firmly in this opportunity to build a media company for men. Because you have Essence, you have Refinery 29, you have Glamour, but men was kind of lacking. So 137 came to be. Now, here's why I bring them up to your question. Because 137, they got their foothold in the marketplace by doing exactly what you say there's a lot of, by aggregating a ton of content that's already out there from either existing business news. They might just say, look what happened with Elon Musk. Here's what LeBron James is doing. So it's got a point of view, but it's aggregating. Phase 2 of 137 needs to be original programming. It needs to be original programming if they want to continue heading in this direction and continue executing on this thesis that there needs to be more lifestyle media for men. So what do? Well, they needed to scout the market, find the jockeys that they feel do have an authentic voice, because I agree there's a lot of copy and pasting going on. I'd like to think I'm not one of those. I'd like to think Brandon isn't either. And so what happens is they found some original, some jockeys, and now we're building an original programming on top of their existing phase 1 brand, right? And so the Vayner ecosystem is pretty monologue because it's mostly Gary, but so they realize, okay, we've hit a cap. We need to bring other voices into the ecosystem, build microcosms around them, and that's how you'll be able to get to scale while still maintaining true to that authentic voice. So I'm not sure if that's the direction that you want to head in, because it's all about like your goals, right? Like you could probably chill on Thailand right now on the fucking beach and just monetize your audience and live fine. But if you want to head in this direction of like building a valuable media property, in terms of an investor, like from an investment standpoint, you guys know, or you may know, I invested in Blavity. We invested in Blavity. Blavity started out as a blog. They now had a $6.5 million Series A round led by Google Venture. They're growing. They have 6 properties underneath them that they either build from the ground up or they acquire. And so they've made steadfast progress in this direction of being a media, behemoth. And if that's what you want to do, I would strongly encourage you to check out original programming. So reach out to guys like us. Right now we have our eggs in the 137 basket, but I would find, similarly devilishly handsome guys, or I'm just fucking with you, or gals, and say, hey, you have a subscription business, I like the way you do it, let's do some original programming and see if that can't help you further the brand. Because you get less of a multiple if you're an aggregate page, in my opinion. If you're an aggregate page and you have 1 million users, you'll be a fraction of a value if you have 1 million users with all original programming, because you have a bigger competitive advantage, because that can't be as easily replicated.
I was also going to say, just think about the lens of how you create the content. If you're just sharing other people's content, that might not be as advantageous, but for 137, they think about new, or at least for Chop It Up, we think about news, talk about it, and then how could a young entrepreneur or business owner take away from this for their everyday in their business. So it's we want to give people tangible takeaways so that they can move with it, not just share what's going on in the news and why.
Yeah, add a point of view.
Yeah.
All right, one more?
You want to know, are there any companies that you all are looking at right now about data visualization, like XR and under that umbrella right now?
You got anything?
I don't think we are looking at any data. I think it's just early.
Yeah, data viz is interesting because data's like the new oil of the economy. It will be impossible to run without data. And something like 80% of vehicles, 75 to 80% of vehicles already track, for instance, your driving. It's either on an app, on your phone, on the actual hardware device, mobile device, or as an example on the dashboard. All this data is aggregated, it's sent over to insurance carriers, and as an example, they'll be able to more efficiently underwrite your premium. Or, you know, there's data on the policy side. Data is the new oil, and I think anyone that steps in and builds some efficient way of communicating that data, I think that's incredibly valuable. So we haven't spotted any founders doing that, but if it's you,
Alice is doing that.
Hello Alice is one that there might be a future in, we might invest in. But yeah, so pretty light on the data viz side, but I would be interested if anyone is interested. Maybe one more.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking to invest in the health tech space. We understand that we're not healthcare providers and we don't have all that education, but we want to get up to speed pretty quickly with using like other folks who are in the industry and folks who have expertise, consultants, what have you. And we actually recently just looked at a telehealth company that is helping folks who usually folks live about 2 or 3 hours away from, or veterans live 2 or 3 hours away from a hospital, so they can't get back and forth to actually like do any work on like cardiovascular and stuff like that. So we're looking at a company that's working on that right now, and that's pretty cool. And it's all through telehealth. They built actually like a app, I believe, in conjunction with Stanford to like be able to help you just get your cardiovascular up and running whenever you have any type of trouble. So the healthcare is big, it's wide, it's crazy, but if you can like simply add like a service and make it easy for a consumer to handle, I think we're interested. If it's a little too complex, I think for us right now, you have to be strategic.
The thing about it is venture investing is incredibly risky. You're highly likely to get a zero, that's why the numbers work against you until they work for you. Meaning, if I put if I have 25K and I put it into your company, there's a high chance I won't get it back. Now, if I put 25K into all your guys' company, then there's a greater probability for those odds to return. Now, investing is all about hedging for risk. So we understand that we're in an inherently very risky business, and so we look for things that mitigate that risk and give you a little bit more odds of succeeding. And for instance, that can mean the experience of the founding team. Maybe you've been in the health business 2-3 time founders and you're like, okay, cool, she has some DNA here. Maybe it's the fact that you're in a market that is really new and continuing to grow, right? Because if we invest early and the whole market takes off, you know, you don't need to be the Uber, because it's not like winner takes all. Like, you can be one of the many winners. So we look for what factors can significantly de-risk our investment. So when you ask me about health, the things that I would think about is, okay, does she have an understanding in consumer? Like, do you have good grasp on branding? Because that's what we feel it takes to win in health. You know, how firm of a grasp does she have here? What is her team like? So for me, I think people don't talk enough about like how this specific team is well equipped to tackle the opportunity. Like, there's plenty of good fucking opportunities, but like, I need to know that you specifically are the person for that opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in a lot of ways we think about it as investors, like what's the problem, what's the solution, and then like why are you the right person to solve that solution, and why is it the right time? If you can articulate that to an investor, that's a good start. Any other last?
Quick one.
Okay.
With Instagram changing the algorithm,
yes,
making brands and key people harder to reach, like you have to pay to play.
Yes.
How do
we're like yes.
How do you?
We're like yes, we know about that.
How do you get around it? Do you have to pay to play, or do you have to be more engaged? Like, you know, you're an influencer. Like, how do you do it?
I am absolutely not. No, you remember. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Did you see that video? I was like, I was spazzing out.
It performed
very
well.
It did. So I think that's a great question, and I love when people try to like get around the fucking algorithm.
Yep.
You know how you get around the algorithm? You make good fucking content. Like, and good content wins out in the end. But I can't ignore the macro truth and ramifications of a platform decreasing their organic reach. It just happens. Facebook, I don't know if you guys remember, early on in Facebook, if you posted something and I just liked it, that they would serve it to my entire fucking audience. Now it takes you sharing it for a fraction of your followers to see it. And so like Instagram was the same thing, it was popping, it's starting to come down. Right now I get 4 to 5x the organic reach on LinkedIn than Instagram. And you're getting crazy organic reach on TikTok. So it's like, it's always like, all right, what platform's new that you think people are gonna head to, create there and get that lift. But for me, even for all the bullshit that like Facebook and all these platforms will get for decreasing their organic reach, I still think it's good bang for buck. Because what else are you gonna do? Pass out fucking flyers? Like, it's still really good reach.
Right. You know, stop letting you allow to get organic reach. So that's what I'm trying to
Pay to play.
Yeah, the best way to grow still is collaboration with pages like yours.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm just gonna give away the fucking playbook for free, right? Like I have a new assistant that I onboarded. I said, yo, find the top 100 entrepreneurial pages, or like I do well with like black excellence pages, like shit like that. Like find the top 100 of them, like DM every single one of them. Let's take the top 10 that respond that are interested in collaborating, and every week I send them the top 20% performing content of mine. Like, I don't know if you guys saw this, I dropped a video called Advice from a Billionaire and like No One Believes Until You Win. Those two perform really well, so then I'll take the raw video and seed it and syndicate it across all these aggregated pages, and then like all these pages are the plumbing of Instagram. And so like if you can get up in those works, I think that's still the absolute best way to grow.
Woo! There you have it, folks. We just wrapped Chop It Up live, South by Southwest. How you feel?
2019, it was lit, guys. Listen, we literally thought of this less than 24 hours ago, posted it on Instagram. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yes.
It was a fun time. Thank you all of you guys for popping up. We talked about future of mobility. We talked about the future of brand activations, about personal brand, the usual good stuff. So you already know. Subscribe, like, drop your comments below, and until next time, peace.